Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another weekly episode of
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, 80-bit newscast.
We are your hosts, Termite,
Penguin and Penguin.
and we are usually a weekly video game podcast, smashing together ideas that you care about with video games, but on
Yes,
Mondays
but
here
now
at
we're a
twitch.tv.
weekly video game newscast now. So, but we're still both. We have a podcast and a newscast.
We do
So,
that.
huzzah. Um, yeah.
Thank you for
Sorry,
joining
I
us
didn't mean
once
to do
again.
that.
If you are finding us by way of YouTube, you can always tune in live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash. We walk you through the video game news that's going on that we care about from the previous week, letting you guys know our thoughts, insights, questions, comments, and concerns. We take your questions at the end, so please hold them for now until about 10 to 5 minutes left. At the end, we will let you know when to start throwing your questions in chat, and we will address them. Please let us know if we are wrong in chat. We'll stand by our corrections. We will be the first people to tell you that we are wrong, because we can't get everything right. But we
Correct.
do have a lineup tonight consisting of some Sony graphical user interface, that is GUI or user interface UI, from the
Uh-huh.
PlayStation 5 that was unveiled on the 15th. We have a new patch that came out for the PlayStation 4 to lay some groundwork on the PlayStation 5's UI that led to some controversy that we didn't really
Yeah.
expect, but it's going to happen. Rockstar is acquiring some new things. Avengers is getting delayed. Microsoft is messaging some new things from Bethesda, as well as clarifying their launch lineup for the Series X. And we're going to run you through all of that tonight. Penguin, is there anything else our audience needs to know about before we get started?
No, there was a news story that if we have time, I'll talk about it. I don't know how much news it is versus kind of obvious, but hey, if we have time, we'll talk about it. So I'll save it for last because it's relevant to the season. But yep, as Termite mentioned, again, hold your questions till the end, and as always, check out the episode we just dropped on game endings, and check us out next week for our Halloween stuff. We'll have a episode themed around ghosts and ghost games, and then on next Wednesday, we'll be streaming together PT, and this Wednesday I will be streaming Resident Evil 3 Remake. So check that out at 8 p.m. So, anyways, let's jump into the news, though. I think that's about it. So let's hop in and talk about our first story.
There is one last piece of housekeeping we have to address, and that is if you are interested whatsoever in our podcast or any of the other things that we have going on, go check out 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website with links to all of our social media pages, as well as our podcast platforms. We're everywhere you want us to be, and if we're not, you let us know, and we'll put ourselves there. Just letting you know, every Monday at midnight, a new show drops, and then again, Wednesdays and Mondays, right here on twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash, we are live. So let's go. The Sony UI presentation. Oh my gosh, I took 2 pages of notes. I am ready to go on some discussion with this. So let's run through in the order of things that were shown off. What are your first thoughts and impressions overall?
I like a lot of what they're doing with the ease of access to information. I guess is probably the best way of putting it. So, from as simple as like without suspending the game or without exiting the game too much, which is what I currently hate. One of the things I currently dislike a lot about the current PlayStation 4 UI is if I want to start a party, I have to leave the game, effectively suspend the game, exit into an entirely different menu and screen with, and if it's a multiplayer game, things might be going on around me while the game's suspended, and then I have to invite someone new to a group and stuff like that. So, as we will talk about later, there still may be some weird hangups in regards to the group, but it seems like most of everything you possibly want to do in the PlayStation 5 UI will be doable while still keeping eyes on the game and still feeling like you're playing the game. So it seems a lot more integrated. I really liked the hint feature.
Yes,
That
I
we'll
can't
talk
wait to
about.
dig into that. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. But yeah, let's go ahead and just run through all of the like real fast, lightning fast. What did they show off? Just the facts and basics of the interface that they showed off.
They started by showing they're playing Sackboy, which is one of the what's the name of that game? Little Big Planet. The main character now has a platform. It looks amazing. It's gorgeous and colorful. They were playing that, so you could see it was kind of a fast resume. They logged in, boom, there's the game, and they showed a context-sensitive menu when they pressed the button that showed a list of cards that were horizontally presented to you from left to right, which seemed like it was ordered by the thing you most recently looked at, because the order of those cards were different later when they showed the what was the name of that game? Destruction All Stars.
All Stars, yeah.
So they started off by showing that, and then they went into some of the party stuff, how easy it was to do the party thing, and then they showed a new picture-in-picture mode with, and they had various features of that involved both party, chat, screen sharing within a party, and then the hint that you hit, like you mentioned earlier, the hints, the video game videos that were showed. You can position that anywhere you want on the screen. You can dock it to the left or right. You can have it picture-in-picture floating around so it doesn't cover up GUI things for you. And then they continued to move on to how it looks to jump into a different game. And it showed them jumping into Destruction All-Stars, into a party, and then they fast-forwarded some of the character creation, first-time playing intro things, which I want to deep into that. I want to talk about that too. And then they jumped to a party. Then they showed some screenshot editing tools that you could use, and then you could share it online with your friends to a party. And then that was pretty much it. It seemed pretty quick when you go through it like that.
They had like a news section, like you can see like a news bulletin kind of thing, and in the base menu there's a couple other things. Oh, the store is fully integrated now, so it's not a separate app that you open up. You go right into browsing and you can see right, like within the UI itself, you can see all the deals and stuff like that. So
all right, let's rewind to the very beginning. All right, so we see that there's a context sensitive menu with cards that are showed up at the very beginning, and you mentioned the news feed. That's the first thing on the left. We don't know if that's because it's the most recent thing that player had seen last time they logged out, or last time they looked at this menu, or if it's because it's the most important. But if I'm in the middle of playing a game and I press the PlayStation button or hold it or whatever I need to do to bring that menu up, I kind of don't really care about what's going on in the video game industry. I'm in the middle of playing a game. I don't want to see the feed of like news hits, right? You guys are here for that. That's once a week. You're going to come to 80bitpodsmash.com. You're going to go to twitch.tv/80. Yeah. You're going to come here for that. I mean,
when I care for news, I'm scrolling on my phone, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm doing at the time. I'm not like, I don't want to be like playing a game, hit my PlayStation button, and it'd be like, did you know there's a new patch coming out in 2 weeks for this game? Like, okay, yeah, probably I already do know that because I probably was looking at my phone.
Right, and that goes into my first piece of feedback about this whole card system. I still feel like it's a little messy and it's a little bit cluttered. There's a lot going on. Like, you hit that button and it showed a whole like array of cards. And it was like news, and then it was trophy tracking stuff, which they glossed over. I'm very disappointed they didn't even talk about trophies. And then they went into some other cool things we'll talk about in a minute. But it seemed like a lot. It seemed pretty busy for like. I
wonder if you
mid-game.
can. I'm hoping the only hope, my only hope for that is I wonder if you can curate what that shows for you. So if there's like a checklist that was like, do you care about seeing, latest news on this game? Nope. What do you want to be more prominent? Trophies, you know what I mean? Like trophy hints, all that stuff, that like easy access stuff that were cool. But yeah, hopefully they'll allow you to do a little bit of
it's a good segue. Let's talk about the hint feature, the in-game help, right? So in the Sackboy demonstration, they showed, I'm stuck on trying to find these 3 mage robes, and they went into a video, and they docked this video to the left side of the screen, and they had a playback of someone playing Sackboy right alongside. This is amazing for trophy hunters like myself, that I constantly pause the game and go watch a video and see what's going on. But now I can do it both. I can play the game and watch this video at the same time. The question,
integrated into it without having to leave or look away from the screen.
It's all right there. Yeah, you don't have to stop and pick up your phone. That's what you want.
And
you want engagement.
Like where you are, like the game it'll track it for you. It'll be like, hey, you missed these collectibles in this one. Do you want to see hints as where to find them?
Right.
As opposed to just like me having to like go in. So it seems like it's going to be all integrated very well. The narrator did say that it's going to be like a game, like the game by game basis. Like it's not going to be necessarily every game has these features. And as another note, they're only available to PS Plus subscribers. So if you're not a PS Plus subscriber, you're back to Google. Yes, it is. So it's not ubiquitous for everyone.
Great point, because this puts all of the work on the developers to put these
Yeah.
videos in here. And whether that's in house, no one. So if you listen to mass media of games journalism, they'll all say this point that it's on the impetus is on the developers to put those videos together, make them available, to put the context points in the game, like as you're programming and designing the game. If you're playing Spider-Man Miles Morales and you're on level 3 mission whatever, and you have these things you need to collect, it's on Insomniac to make that video and put it in. The big question is that no one's really asking is, can developers contract that out? Because there are people like PowerPix and PlayStation 5 Trophies on YouTube that I follow, both of them, and like Crash 4 came out, for example, and my feed was just loaded between those two followers alone. Every single trophy had a full video of how to get them for Crash Bandicoot 4. So if they can contract that out and get those folks paid money to then submit videos back to the developers, are we going to see like an outsourced community kind of social connection with those gameplay hints? I hope so, because if that's the case, we're going to get.
Depends on how successful the feature is.
Yeah.
I would say, like, if the success, I mean, and hopefully Sony drives that by including it in their first party titles. Like, Spider-Man better have it.
Sure. Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn better have it. God of War better have it. Like, if they're leading the charge on that, then more, I imagine more third-party developers will be interested in working out arrangements for it, whatever that looks like. And if it gets to the point where they're like, hey, we have all these dedicated fans who are willing to do it for some kickback, then maybe that's exactly what it is. You could submit and then they'll just get better over time if people are like submitting them, and if they get approved, you get a kickback.
Yeah, because you think about if you were Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? It's coming out on Xbox Series X, PC, and PlayStation 5. But if you are Ubisoft and you're the developers and you outsource a video hint gameplay footage video, could you imagine the kickback the person producing the video gets? You are chosen by Ubisoft to be the sole person that anyone who wants any PlayStation 5 hints is going to get a hit on your video. Imagine the popularity, like the pull on that, right? If you are a content creator and you make gameplay help videos, hopefully they're doing that. Hopefully they're thinking about contracting this out to third parties, to outsourcing all these things, because that'll be huge. The competition would drive up, the quality of the videos would go up. It would help that entire economy, and it would be awesome. So anyway, that's gameplay hints. That's a deep dive
It's
conversation.
probably one
right
of the
there.
more exciting things they showed off, just for what the possibilities are. But and how innovative it is and intuitive it looks like it's going to be. What will the final product will end up looking like, how useful it will end up being, is entirely dependent on how many games it's included in. But cool, we can move on to the next thing. One of the other more interesting things they showed off in regards to how like the various picture-in-picture things you can do. So you can use these like hints to help you find stuff, collectibles, possibly help you get through more difficult sections of a game. In addition to that, you could also, I could message Termite and say, hey, dude, while he's playing Spider-Man, I could say, hey, dude, I want you to check out, I'm going to beat this boss in Godfall. We're playing at the same time, but we're playing separate games. I could then send a screen sharing request to Termite. He could accept it, again, without closing the game, all within the sort of UI of the sort of suspend menu. And then he could pull up my video of me playing Godfall, and he could put it in picture-in-picture, and he could watch me while he's playing his game without having to end the game or anything. So that's another feature.
And cool, like, included. What was really cool about that, it was Uncharted Lost Legacy, which is a PS4 backwards compatible title. Which means this feature works like regardless of what you're playing. It seems like you can just share your whatever content you're consuming with your party, and that's really cool. And I wonder if you can do more than one at a time, but that's a conversation for another day. But I thought it was really, really cool because I would love to. Sometimes I'm just grinding out dumb stuff for trophies, and I'm not really into a story, or I'm not really doing things that are like require my full attention, and I'm just playing my game. And I'll usually put on a podcast or something. But now I could do that. I could socially just connect with friends and say, "Hey, what are you playing? Share me your screen. I want to see this thing you're doing. I want to see the loot you're getting. I want to see the boss you're fighting." It sounds awesome. Will this ever? Well, go ahead.
Content creators could take advantage of that too for like. So we as content creators, we could do something where if we're both streaming the same game, maybe we're competing or maybe we're playing alongside co-op, you could have a picture-in-picture of, and be capturing that on your capture card, you could have a picture-in-picture of whoever's screen sharing with you and see their side of the game. So if you're playing the same game, then you could kind of do that. It could open up some interesting content creation possibilities
Hmm.
if we were competing, saying who could try to get through this faster, this level or whatever. Then we could do that, and it's built into the UI,
Hmm.
allowing us to do that. So I'm wondering how that's going to work with the broadcast settings of the PS, native broadcast settings. But there's nothing stopping you from capturing that with a capture card.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Another thing I want to talk about is how this was hinted at before the UI video went live, was that apparently the system UI is going to have hooks and integrations into games that you play. And they showed this off a little bit with Sackboy Adventures when it showed how you can jump into a specific level from the system UI. So if you're in level, say, 3, you can hit the PlayStation button and then jump to level 1 and do a challenge right away, just instantly, because of the power of the SSD.
The game will communicate between the PlayStation and the game will communicate between each other and say, so like again, back to the idea of the collectibles. If it was like, hey, you only completed 30% of level 3, do you want to jump in there now from the game menu or from the PlayStation menu, as opposed to having to exit whatever level you're in from the game menu and then pull it out? Like nowadays, it would be really clunky to do that. I think of like Last of Us Part 2. If I were trying to do that in Last of Us Part 2, I'd have to leave the game,
go back to the main menu.
Yep. Scroll through like 3 menus trying to find the list, and then like also look to see what my percentage completion is.
Yep.
So it's very clunky in a lot of modern games. Some a little bit more elegant than others, but in current gen games, it's very clunky. Now it looks like the game and the PlayStation will communicate with one another and be like, "Yo, he missed these like 30 collectibles in Chapter 5, so." Then PlayStation will say, "Hey, you missed these 30 collectibles in Chapter 5. You can jump into it right now," and it'll do it from that menu. So that's a cool feature too.
And you think of something that's like open world, like Ghost of Tsushima, because that's relevant right now with Legends coming out and how everyone's playing it. If you think about the collectibles or even side missions, like side quests, right? In Ghost of Tsushima, you have to bring up an in-game menu that has your side quests, and it would show you on the map where they are. Now you can fast travel, and it's really fast and convenient. That's probably the best like implementation of this feature we have in modern gen. Next gen for PlayStation 5, it's like you're in the middle of a story mission, and at any point you can press the PlayStation button, pop out, you'd see a list of cards, probably showing all your side quests, and you'd be like, oh, I want to jump to this one. And it'll take you immediately to that side quest, where the quest giver is, and you would start the quest right there. And it would just pop you out.
I wonder if they're going to, I wonder how it's going to be implemented in open world games, if they'll bring it to the nearest fast travel point or something like that. And hopefully that's all integrated well with the trophy system too. So it's like, hey, this is all you want to do this for the trophy. You missed this. You should go back and do this for your trophy or whatever. Like it seems like they have all the pieces in place for a really elegant advancement to the trophy system, and hopefully they combine them together well.
I hope
between the hints, the progress tracking, the quick selection from the menu to specific things within the game. And then finally, the new robust trophy system that is purportedly to have trophy tracking. If they can integrate all 4 of those things together in an elegant fashion to allow someone like you or me to very easily track our progress and work towards that progress, then it'll go a long way to making the UI portion of the system of a success.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's jump into switching between games. So they showed us. They showed in the video they jumped from Sackboy Adventures to Destruction All Stars, and in that transition, I noticed, and this was kind of a letdown for me, because I was thinking that you would be able to receive a friend request in the social menu, which they showed, and you'd be able to join that friend, and it would put you immediately in the lobby of that game. What happened was they switched games, and they were on the title screen where they had to press start, which was a cold boot. They did say that. And then there was the fast forward through all of the start screens, create your character. Now, I don't know if that's because it was the first time that demonstrator had played that game, but my expectation was, say you're playing Doom Eternal, and you're in the middle of a game, you're between rounds, and someone dropped out, and you wanted me to take that spot. And I'm in the middle of playing, like, Ghost of Tsushima, and you're like, hey, come play with me, Termite. And I'm like, okay, so I get the blip, and I see that and I click, okay, join. What I expect would happen is I would go immediately to the Doom Eternal lobby with you.
Yeah.
It's like in seconds. But that's not what they showed with this Destruction All-Stars. What they showed was that the game closed or suspended, and then the title screen for Destruction All-Stars came up, and then you select multiplayer, and then you go to join like it is current gen. So I hope this was only because that they were a new player, and that I hope my expectation can still be realized. I'm not completely falsed out, but I was a little kind of taken aback, a little jar, a little bit of a negative ping here with this switch to Destruction All Stars. What do you think?
I agree. It didn't quite seem as elegant as I was expecting it to
Yeah.
be with what they've been hyping up this SSD and what it's capable of for so long that even the fact that there was just a brief, it was faster, but like the title, whenever you open up a new PlayStation game, they give you like a splash screen title. Or like showing usually some artwork from the game, and it takes a second. You sit there for a little bit before the game loads. And even that, like that still happens in the PS5, and even that took longer than I expected, I think, based on what they've been So again, they've been hyping the speed. So maybe I need to lower my expectations a little bit about how fast the console is going to be, but I was definitely like a little bit like similarly, it's like you've been saying for so long that you can just like blat between games, and with this advancement. So
If you look at
yeah.
the timestamp on the video, apparently it's 8 seconds to switch from Sackboy Adventures to a cold boot of a new game. That's pretty amazing. 8 seconds is
That's good.
incredible. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
you never even had to go home. You don't have to like suspend the application. You don't have to close the game. Just jumping immediately from mid game of Sackboy straight to a new game, cold boot, 8 seconds to that title screen where you can interact with the menu. And that's amazing. So even though it's not as like instant as you might think, what I wonder is if that game had been previously played and suspended, if they have an Xbox Series X
Yeah,
sort of quick
like
resume,
multi.
and they didn't show that. And I wonder why they didn't answer to the quick resume, because Microsoft's quick resume stuff had been going, they sent out like over 100 consoles to industry professionals. They've been live streaming all this stuff and demonstrating it online, and you can see that. So I'm surprised that Sony didn't do that here to answer that call. It's like, oh, here's our version of that. So all we can do is speculate and assume that we have a quick resume feature the same way that
We might
Xbox
not.
does. Maybe not.
There's much of an assumption that they might not have anything like that. So
Yeah, we don't know.
Say Luffy. Yep.
But
Yep.
I'm with you, because I was a little bit disappointed too when I saw how long it took to get back to Destruction All Stars. Even though we're in the realm of like, I'm catering my disappointment and like, this is amazing and a massive upgrade and absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait for next gen. I'm
You're
still
allowed to be
like
critical.
Yeah,
You're allowed to still be critical.
exactly. And so like that's what I'm like. And what I hate more than anything else, and I thought would be completely rectified, was I hate a system UI join button, and then you load the game for a second join button. Don't let me join your party twice. Just
Yeah.
let me hit one X button, confirm I want to play with you, and put me where I need to be, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna play together. So
Yep.
that
agree.
was kind of my thing. I guess we'll know more when the consoles come out, and we can switch between Spider-Man and Godfall
Right.
and test that for ourselves.
We'll monkey around with it for sure. Yeah.
We will. The last thing I want to talk
It'll be
about.
hard too. Real quick, it'll be hard too, though. Harder for physical owners. of
Oh,
physical
I didn't even think about the good call. Yes,
You'll still have to
discs.
switch between
Oh my
the
gosh, what is that going to look like? Is it going to be like a splash screen that says "Please insert the disc"?
Probably.
Oh, this is. Oh, thank you for bringing this up, because I wanted to talk about the digital, like ubiquitous of nature of digital medium. You can tell that everyone's trying to go that way, and this is exactly why. This is it right here. We finally have the reason why it's so convenient to have digital only future behind, like to switch between games immediately because they're both installed and they're both ready to go. What
Yep.
does that interruption look like, and how long does it take? And like, is there a timeout, right? If you invite me to a game and I take too long to get off the couch and go find the game, insert it, take the old disc out, switch it over, like, is that timeout going to happen and you have to send me a second invite? Because at that point, immersion is gone. Everything they've tried to do is shattered. It's in shambles. It is burning in a garbage truck headed down the road the opposite direction. Yeah.
Yep.
The last thing I want to talk about with this whole UI thing was the integrated microphone into the controller that allows you to do voice to text for searching
Yeah.
and for texting. That's amazing. I use it on my cell phone all the time, and I hope this works. But they showed a demonstration of it, and it's exactly what I would expect from a 2020 console. Is I can just speak into the controller that comes with the console and send you a message, and it spells out correctly. And I think that was how they ended.
Yeah. Hopefully that is at the very least as good as it is on my cell phone, because even my cell phone screws it up more often than not. So
yeah.
there will be definitely some. Is it going to be able to recognize when I say Kratos, or is it going to spell it crate code? You know what I mean? Like, Because yeah, is it going to is there going to be built-in AI, like low-level AI to like manage and recognize PlayStation related terms, or is it going to be embarrassing for all of us to use? So
Who
whatever.
knows?
That's my only question.
We will find out.
We'll find out because I
Yep.
will try to take advantage of that
Yep.
feature when I can. But it will be nice at least when it comes to like searching for stuff. I think so.
Mhm.
There's that. But cool. All right, we can move on. So speaking of PlayStation, we'll probably only have time to talk about the PlayStation stuff, but
Yeah, I
so
can't believe.
you
Yeah.
lay the groundwork for one of the other things that it's still relevant to the UI of the PS5 because it looks like that's the direction. This is the direction they're going. But PlayStation released an update for the PS4 system as well to lay the groundwork for some of the changes they are making in the PS5. And one of the more controversial things that they've changed that seems to be present in the PlayStation 5 UI as well is they have changed the way that they handle party chats and how that integrates with like groups, like like chat groups, basically the chat group functionality. So they've merged them basically. They're now one thing. You prearrange your friend groups into chats basically, and then that's what you can invite to voice chat. And it works fine if you have a group of people that you regularly play with or individuals you regularly play with. But if you try to add someone into your gaming group, if we have a pre-existing chat party, I guess, with your friend Jimmy, but if we were to add my friend Justin to play Ghost of Tsushima, apparently it's very inelegant. I haven't really run into that myself yet, but apparently it's a very inelegant way of like you really have to think ahead of time and plan ahead of time, as opposed it really kills a lot of the spontaneity. I think what people are complaining about is it kills a lot of the spontaneity of forming voice chat parties.
Once
when
I
playing together.
so we did that. We experienced this with no preconceived education or prompting or tutorial at all. I had no idea anything had changed from prior to this. Like I thought update 8.0 was just doing some stuff on the back end. And so we played Ghost of Tsushima. We had started a party together, just the two of us, and I did go to invite Jimmy to the party, and it was a weird prompt to add him to our existing group, and I thought it was a little cumbersome at first, but once I saw it, I was like, oh, we're already in a pre-established party, so we're now adding a third person to it, and then it was like a little bit more cohesive, and at that point it made sense. But it was still a little bit of a stumbling block because I didn't expect it. So now that I know what's going on,
if you're in an existing chat, instead of just being able to pull someone in and add them to that chat without any interruption, you now have to end the chat, create a new chat with the people you want, and go from there. Once that's happened, though, it should remember that you've done that,
right?
And you can then customize and name the party and add pictures to it or whatever. So, like theoretically, in the future, it'll be more elegant. And once you have some sort of established friend groups that you play with, then it should be pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll have to sort of adjust your understanding of like, okay, if I want to add someone to that, I should prepare ahead of time and create a group, and then just invite everyone when it's time to play. Because I think it might make for some awkwardness in regards to like voice chat. I think like when spontaneity in voice chat.
The phone apps are about to be all updated this week from the 19th through like the 23rd. They're redoing all of the shop. They're taking we talked about this on the show last week. We talked about how they're removing a bunch of just redoing all of the cell phone interactions, and it seems like they're going to kind of streamline this stuff and make it a little easier. What I hope is I can be like, instead of sending a text message or a Google Hangouts message to my friend saying, hey, I want to play tonight, I'm hoping I can load the PlayStation app on my phone and then just send the party invites out and say, hey, I want to play some games tonight. I'm free. Let me know if you want to join. And then they can just join the invite, and then we can go from there. And it's cohesive into the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 console itself, so that when we launch the games and we start the party, it's all there. It's all set up and ready to go. Yeah. I think that was their goal, was to like set a place for you. Doesn't matter where you are.
Use the PlayStation Messenger app.
That's going to go away. They're canceling the app entirely, and they're rolling it into the PlayStation app itself.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I think they want you to engage in gaming conversation on their platform, as opposed to like, hey, I pull you up on Facebook Messenger and say, hey, or text you even, do you want to play games? They want to encourage you to use their app for that, because then you can also then just go ahead and create a party from there with the people that you're already engaging with. Oh, it's already done for you because you've already pulled these 5 people into a chat, and a party has been created, so that all you have to do is hit invite when you're ready to go.
Yep.
I think is what they want. But anyways, let's move away from PlayStation.
Right.
And...
Well, no, there's actually the last part of this entire story was with that. There was the announcement that Sony will allow the party to record their voice chat to submit it to Sony. And that caused a crazy privacy conversation to come out and a lot of attack feedback. So Sony can apparently, record your entire private party chat, and then up to the user's discretion can submit that to Sony for
people, of course, are like,
review.
are you listening to our private chats?
Right. And so what do you think about all this? Did you follow it? Do you even know what's going on, or where are you at with
I haven't been following it too much, but I lean towards the side of like everything's already listening to us so much already. Like, come on, Sony. Like, that's kind of, I don't know. I dislike that. I dislike that for example, I was talking about a pot roast my wife made, and suddenly on my news feed, I'm seeing lots of recipes for pot roast.
Yep.
And like my phone does that, and it's really, it feels very invasive. And I don't know. We're probably, I will admit, I will probably be blind signing my user agreement with Sony when I open up my console for the first time, because I'll be so excited to play. So I don't really know if I can trust them to not at least try to capture my data from our voice chats and then use that, sell that data to whomever, you know what I mean? Like,
that's one side of the coin. The reason I think the impetus for all of this was to combat internet toxicity.
Right,
it was
right.
But the weird twist on this whole thing is that it's private chats. It's your friends. It's your group.
Yeah.
I get like the public chat, like if you just join a Call of Duty game and you're just playing with like randos on the internet and they start the hate speech and the toxicity and the stuff we hate, like don't do that crap. I love the fact that Sony wants to attack that, or wants to deal with it, or wants to do something with that.
Give you tools to deal with it.
Yeah, give you the tools. Like if I'm offended by somebody who calls me some racial slurs or says something derogative to LGBTQ community, like I can then take a segment of that conversation and submit it to Sony and say, hey, this guy's problematic or this gal's problematic. Deal with that, and like actually make a report that's a little bit more informative to Sony, allow them to have that discourse to go back and forth and have some investigative reporting and stuff. So the problem with all of that is this is private party chats. How often do you party privately with people who are offensive to you? Do you like rant? Right. Maybe it is for I don't know, because I'm not the mass gamer. I'm not the mass Call of Duty player. I party with my close friends. I only send friend requests and have a curated friends list of people I actually care about. Kudos to you if you're on my friends list. Like if you're a friend with Termite 80, Termite 04, like that's because I like you and you're going to be friends with me, and I think of you as more than just a general public person. And so like that's just me. Maybe I'm in a minority. I love this is user centered. This whole idea that internet needs to calm down a little bit. This whole idea that Sony's recording conversations, it can only be submitted by a player. It's not Sony taking anything. It's giving the players the option to push something to Sony if there's a problem.
That is what Sony has said. That is the public facing, hey guys, we're implementing this feature for you. And then there is the private backroom conversations where they're like, oh, by the way, the marketing guys will love this because we'll be able to capture data.
Yeah, and that part I don't know anything about. Right, yeah, what you're saying is probably true, too.
Maybe just look at the user agreement.
Yeah.
Maybe this may be a good opportunity to read the user agreement when you open up your console and see what it says about the voice-recorded conversations, because that's a very large possibility. If you are okay with that, if that's not a deal breaker for you, that's fine. It is one of those things where, though, I do think that it's important to call privacy breaches when you see them. Even if the intended purpose is not to breach their privacy, it's still important. I think the internet's doing the right thing by saying, hey, this is not cool. Like, this is not, this usage of this technology can be used in a negative way. So, plus, it's an opportunity for trolling, too. Like, how are they going to verify whose voice was whose?
Yeah.
Is there metadata?
Probably.
Is there metadata that captures
I would
that?
I would imagine so. Like if you talk into a mic on the UI of PlayStation, it shows your microphone icon light up. So I imagine they're going to use the metadata on the back end to know, like, oh, when this person's talking,
they're capturing metadata. Then
yeah,
you know
of course.
what I mean?
Well,
like
that's their metadata. It's theirs. That metadata is already Sony's. right?
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
so anyways, we've spent too long on this conversation, so
Do you
apologies.
want to
we
hear
are-
Sony's response? I can read through that. It's like,
No, it's too. We're at time. So go ahead and share whatever thoughts that you guys have in the chat.
yes.
And actually, I guess we need to kill time somehow. So if you want to share Sony's response real quick,
Sure.
as soon as Termite's done with Sony's response, we will read your chats, any corrections, comments, thoughts you might have on all the stuff we talked about, Sony's UI, and the new updates and the controversies therein. Apologies if we didn't get to talk about anything other than Sony this week, but that is kind of how things go sometimes with us.
It
So,
is. The backlash on the internet has kind of put Sony's feet to the fire to respond, because there is a lot of attack against this whole privacy invasion. So this is Sony's response. This comes by way of Catherine Jensen, the vice president of global consumer experience from PlayStation. It's on the PlayStation blog. You can find it there. But here's what Catherine Jensen says: managing online safety is an important part of ensuring that, referring to what we just talked about. We believe that it's critical that gamers be able to quickly and accurately report abuse or harassment if they experience it while on PlayStation Network. As part of this initiative, we've been preparing to roll out a new feature on the PlayStation 5 console that enables gamers to report verbal harassment through a new voice chat reporting function. Its sole purpose is to help in reporting of inappropriate behavior, including actions that violate our community code of conduct. And there's a link to that code of conduct if you want to see it. Please note this feature will not actively monitor or listen in on your conversations. There you go, Penguin. Ever.
that's what they said.
And it's strictly reserved.
Legal writing?
Well, there's a link to okay. And it's strictly reserved for reporting online abuse or harassment. PlayStation gamers learned about this new function in an unexpected way following the recent PlayStation 4 8.0 system update. We didn't clearly communicate this feature or explain why we were introducing it, and apologize for that. Sony's very transparent. They're apologizing for that. When the PlayStation 5 console launches in November, PS5 users will be able to chat with PS4 users, which is why we needed to include an advisory with the latest PS4 system update. That advisory was the thing that told everyone they were recording stuff. That's what that's talking about. We should have more clearly explained why this function was being rolled out, along with details on how it will work on the PlayStation 5 console, so let me walk you through that now. One more paragraph. It's 3 sentences. Once the PlayStation 5 console launches, if a PS5 player needs to file a harassment report, they will be able to include up to a 40-second long voice chat clip in their report. 20 seconds of the main conversation with the other player, plus an additional 10 seconds before and after the selection. Only the most recent 5 minutes of a voice chat will be available for a player to use for this reporting function. So again, that's the end of the quote. Impetus is on the player. You report only when you are harassed, when you are offended. You give that to Sony. You are giving that up as the party owner. So when you join a party of someone else who starts one, there will be a warning saying this party owner might record your data. And so you, as a person who might not want your data recorded, would agree to join a party with a warning that says, hey, your stuff could be recorded. There's so many layers of transparency here. I don't think there's anything actually happening. They've clarified you will not be...
At the very least, so this is another example of Sony's just rampant failure to communicate well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, I mean, again, I do still applaud their efforts to combat internet toxicity, but at the very least, they should be called out for how terribly they communicated this.
Yep.
And they should have a month ago talked about this. So that's my only that's my biggest criticism is I'm not going to just pat Sony on the back and say you're doing such a good job. The internet should cut you some slack. I'm like, nah. Y'all messed up again. You need to learn from this. Start learning from this, Sony, is all I gotta say. Anyways, great. We have some comments, so real quick, we have a comment from Gamer Time here saying, I feel like the fact that Sony's use of voice control can be used for bad purposes could be said about a lot of things tech companies do. That's very true.
Yep.
So I feel specifically the internet yelling at PlayStation is partially just the mob mentality. It is justified, though. Don't get me wrong. It seems there are other companies that are worse.
Absolutely.
And then, Dave851 agreed and said at least Sony hasn't gone full Google.
Yep.
So, yes, those are all valid criticisms. I think the only reason I wanted to highlight it is because I still think it's important. You know, again, the internet mob gets a bad rap sometimes, and they do some stupid things sometimes. I still think it's important for companies to be called out when they are doing things that could be abused.
And what's awesome about Sony is they listen. They actually respond. The only reason that article I just read exists is because people on the internet went nuts and they attacked them and they put their feet to a fire and said, "Hey, Sony, this is a problem. Answer it." And Sony did. So kudos to Sony for doing that. But I also understand your sentiment of like, maybe you should have communicated this a little bit clearer on the on the front, like up front. And I hope they learn. Who knows?
Yep. Cool.
That's all we got.
We are over time now.
Yep.
We got a episode to record for you guys to enjoy in 2 weeks. So we're going to get to that. Again, we apologize for not including any news from anything else. There was some other stuff that hopefully we'll roll some of it at least into next week's newscast episode, knowing that it won't be quite as relevant in a week. But we'll work on it. It's a work in progress. So anyways, again, check us out on all of our social medias. Yeah, you can find us at 80-Bit Pod Smash on Reddit, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can find our show itself at 80bitpodsmash.com, where all of our episodes are available for you to stream right from there. Or if you have a podcast platform of your choice, we have links to pretty much all of them that exist. You can find links to our YouTube channel, where this show will be uploaded later, and our weekly video game streams will be uploaded. So we have lots of opportunities for you to check out our content. So please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, all of those things. However people on the internet say those things, and we will see you on Wednesday, or I will see you on Wednesday to stream Resident Evil. And if you listen to our podcast, we will see you next week.
We have an episode that's live right now tonight, Video Game Endings. It went live this morning at midnight, so go check out our conversation about all things video game endings. Next week, we have an episode about Halloween and our ghosts, so go check that out on Monday at midnight. So make sure 80-Bit Pod Smash, like Penguin said, subscribe to get the latest episodes on your phone, on your device. Do it, and we will see you on Wednesday evening in just 3 days, 2 days, however you count that.
Days.